All right. Well, we know the Colorado Avalanche will be playing this week. Their round two opponent, the St. Louis Blues. We just don't know when yet. Well, as we're recording this, we don't know when. When you are listening to this in the morning, you likely do. But as of right now, we're just guessing. But we do know that they are playing this week. And like I said, they are playing the St. Louis Blues. We will preview that entire thing, how those games against the Blues in the regular season went, how they match up with them on the forwards, on the defense, and in goal. So Kyle and I will break all of this thing down. Let's get to it.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Avalanche fans, thank you for joining the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com and follow the show over on our YouTube channel, over on the YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. So for today, we know our opponent in the St. Louis Blues. Like I said, we don't know. We're recording this 10 o'clock at night. We don't know when that game number one will be. Likely when you are listening to this first thing in the morning. Once that Calgary game is over, the Calgary Stars game is over, we are all assuming that will come out moments later. You heard Jared Bednar say he's heard it could be Tuesday with a possibility of it being Wednesday. To me, I don't care all that much. I know like so many people are on social media kind of like angry about this. I find it funny that I don't know why the NHL just can't come out with the matchups that just put them out. What's the harm to the other teams? Don't care. Like, they're still playing their series. They're not going to get mixed up with like, oh, why did they release their schedule? That's not fit. Like, nobody cares.
No.
But on the other end, I don't care that it's not released yet. Like I said, because I know that they're playing, and we're going to get Avalanche hockey, whether it's likely not Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. Fine.
Yeah, wasn't it last year or in the bubble where there was like the first round games were finishing up and the second round games were already starting?
It was that that must have been in the bubble, right? It couldn't have been. Yeah. I think you're right. I think there was a little bit of overlap.
And last year, wasn't Calgary like making up a bunch of games like while the playoffs were going on? It's like Winnipeg and Calgary, and they were playing just a game that nobody watched.
I can't remember. It was something like that. I don't think you're that far off on
I remember like it's not been a problem before, and like I know everybody's freaking out. Like, everyone, just calm down.
Well, yeah.
This rest is not going to hinder the Avalanche. Everybody, just breathe for just a minute.
Well,
but,
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I completely understand, because like you wake up and you're wanting to get fired up because you're watching 5 Game 7s in a weekend. You're ready to see the Avalanche play again. You want some kind of like something to look forward to, and you don't have that.
That and plans need to be made. You know what I mean? Like people need to take time off from work. They need to know, time frame wise, they got to set up babysitters. I don't. There's a lot that goes into it. I understand all that, but I don't know. It's kind of funny how people are kind of so just annoyed with this. Where I'm just like, I'm just happy that the Avalanche are going to get back on the ice because it's been way too long. And it doesn't matter that they finished off Nashville quickly. Just because of that doesn't mean they're going to be the first team to play. They're not playing if the first games of the second round start on Tuesday, it doesn't automatically mean the Avs are playing on Tuesday.
Yeah,
we might have to wait till Wednesday, which would suck, obviously, but whatever. There's and
for like the narrative for the last 2 weeks of the season being like, we just want to be healthy, and now the Avalanche get a chance to heal up. Yeah. Everybody's like, you're being too healthy. Get back out there.
Don't be so healthy.
Yeah, stop it now.
Yeah.
Just take a breath. It's going to be okay.
So, like we said, they are playing the Blues. The Avs only played them 3 times during the season. And the interesting thing about the 3 times that they played them, twice. The first 2 times were in the first week, the first month of the season. They're both in October, but I think the 2 games were within a week of each other. I think it was or maybe a week apart. I think the 21st and the 28th. So you had those 2 games, and then they didn't play until the Avs' third to last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So when you want to go back and look at the matchup during the season and really kind of say, like, well, how did they match up during the regular season, and will that play out the same way in the playoffs? I don't think you can do that with the Avs. You can look at the matchups and you can look at the rosters and the skill sets and all that, which we will do, but you can't look at this is how these 2 teams played against each other, because number one, 2 games were so early in the season when we all know how the Avalanche started. It's not even the same team. You had Sampo Ranta playing on that team, for those 2 games, and then at the end you had Tyson Jost as well playing on those on the first 2 ones. So, and then the last game was the end of the regular season. The Avs had everything wrapped up, but it was kind of an important game for the Avs because that's when they were not playing well in terms of winning games at the end of the regular season. They lost 4 in a row, and then they did win that game against St. Louis. Make of that what you will. But in terms of head-to-head, it's tough to really look at the 3 games that these teams played and say how they went in the regular season is how it will go in the playoffs.
Yeah. And you brought up the great point. Like, Jost was a member of the team when they first, and like Lehkonen was still a Hab, Gagliano, like Manson was a Duck. Like, the team did not look. Yeah. It's a lot of things have really, and you didn't really know what you're going to get on Nas throughout that season at that point either. So, and they really didn't find what they had in Husso either as their backup goalie.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that drama going on. So you could kind of see what could be and like the DNA of both teams, but add the little bit of like playoff spice. This is going to be a really fun series.
I think it will be. And because the one thing that I think the Blues can do is match the Avs forward depth. We'll talk about that in the next segment, but want to get a little bit more into the 2 or 3 games that they played. The first game, let me see, it was the second game. I thought it was the third game of the year. It was the second game of the year, and the Blues beat the Avs 5-3 at Ball Arena, which not a lot of teams did. They beat them in regulation. That was the game where we thought Tyson Jost had tied it. They were down 4 they were down 4-1. They got 1 goal, I think with like 8 or 9 minutes left. Then they got another goal, and then Tyson Jost right on the doorstep, and it was deemed he kicked it in.
Yeah.
And I remember we were going nuts because the day before there was, I can't remember who it was on Vegas, had a kicking motion goal that they allowed. And then this Tyson Jost goal happened the very next day.
Was it Alec Martinez?
No, it wasn't Martinez. If you said his name, I'm almost positive it wasn't him, but I could totally be wrong. I don't know. But whatever. It didn't go in. They didn't allow it, and the Avs lost that one. The next game, they won. That was at St. Louis. And that was the one where Binnington decided to throw his stick around.
That's right.
And he wasn't close to hitting Nazem Kadri, but still, that's just such a Binnington move to do.
Yeah.
And then they won, like I said, the game. The second was third to last game of the year, 5-3. That was back in Colorado, and that was more of like a dominant. That's what you wanted to see because they weren't playing that well.
No.
So you got a little bit of everything when it came to the Blues and the Avalanche in the regular season. How they match up on the forwards, we'll talk about forwards and defense and goalies. But I think that they're let me see, I had it. here. The Avalanche goals for the season was 312. What do you think the Blues was?
I would say they have to be about in the 300s, like 290s.
They are 311.
Wow.
We
Wow.
were one goal ahead of them. So they can score. They can score. So let's take a look at their forwards. But first, we're going to hear from betonline.net. And our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, all the fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs to esports and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. That is betonline.net, where the game starts. So when we look at these two teams, we always tout the Avs' depth. And especially in round one, the guys that didn't play, you could slot them in and just feel like you're good. That's because the Avs have a lot of depth. The Blues do as well on the forward lines. And you look at their statistics for the season, it's kind of incredible. I shouldn't say it's incredible because he's a great player in Vladimir Tarasenko. He was on the doorstep out of there. He wanted out of St. Louis in the offseason. It seemed like St. Louis was willing to oblige that and just could not find a deal for him. And he stayed, and I give him a lot of credit. And I give him a lot of credit because he could have just went the pouting route, and he didn't. When they both came to the agreement of, like, we tried and we couldn't do anything, he said, okay, fine, I will just play the season. And look what he's done. I mean, he's got 82
points. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have him at the top, but you have guys up and down the lineup that could give the Avs fits in terms of scoring.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down and look at those forwards, like Jordan Kyrou, we forget about that name a little bit because we don't watch the Blues night in, night out. But, I mean, he's the fastest skater. And we talk about Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, what they could do with their speed. And Jordan Kyrou is one of the quickest in the game. And he could burn you. And you mentioned Tarasenko, he had every reason to sit and do nothing. And honestly, when he was asking for a trade, the Blues were not that great. And he didn't have to help put this team in the position they're in right now in round 2. But he did. So, he wants to try it. One more. We're here. Let's go for it. He's got nothing to lose.
No, he's turned. I mean, I want to say he's turned it around. He had that shoulder injury a couple years ago that really just kind of had his numbers kind of go down a little bit. Obviously, he's overcome that. Yeah. So you have let me organize their goals here. Tarasenko led them with 34. Buchnevich had 30. I mean that was a fantastic pickup. You got Kyrou with 27. David Perron with 27. Barbashev 26, Shen 24, Saad 24, Ryan O'Reilly 21, Robert Thomas 20. I mean, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys with 20 goals. And then Justin Falk was 16. Pretty close. These guys can score, but I will say the Avs, the defense is going to have to be up for the challenge here, as well as Darcy Kemper is going to have to be, because they're going to get shots on net. They're going to force the issue. They're a very good special teams team with their power play. So, I mean, this is not a series where the Avs can just outscore the Blues. No. Because when, you've seen it many times where the Avs, it just happened in Game 4 against the Predators, where the Preds had the lead, and then in the third, bam, what did the Avalanche do? They tied it, regained the lead, and then added on an empty netter. We've seen the Avs do that, turn things around really, really quickly, get a equalizing goal within 30 seconds of the goal that they get. It happens a lot with the Avs. The Blues can do that stuff. So the defense is really going to have to be really tight in this series.
not just tight, but they also have to be smart because those forwards, like watching the playoffs, it's very, you could draw the like similarities between how Pittsburgh sets up. They get in deep and like heavy cycles. They'll kind of intentionally push it past the goal and set it up that way. And that's one of those, especially with young defensemen and experienced defensemen, like Manson's still like he's still figuring things out for the Avs. Like the new defenseman, it's one of those that you can overcorrect and get burned. So, like those forwards, they're smart, they're experienced, they're veterans. Like this is a really good forward core and deep. It doesn't stop. So you got to hold on for the whole 60 minutes.
And I think when you look at the defense, I'm really interested to see how on the Avalanche side, Sammy Girard plays in this series because he's taken a lot of heat in terms of the fan base and social media and things like that. And he doesn't play a style that is good for a series with the Predators.
No, and you're correct. Like, what could Sammy G do against like former Avalanche Brandon Saad? That'd be fun. Like, what could he do against David Perron? Like, this is the lights are shining bright on Sammy G in this series, so this would be a fantastic opportunity for him to like step up and make a name for himself. Like if it's kind of hard for him because everything has been going so right for the Avalanche. So when something happens, like Jack Johnson's not there to take the excuses all the time. It's now Samuel Girard. So he knows how this team, we swept this team last year. Like he knows what this team looks like, so he could take them out.
There we go.
There you go.
So, but I think the difference between the biggest difference between the Predators series and the Blues is the Blues are nowhere near as physical as the Predators are, and that's where Sammy G obviously struggles. He's a little bit undersized, so when you have that physical team, he's going to get beat up a lot in the corners and along the boards and things like that. I want to see what he can do against a team like in a series against a team like the Blues, who, you know, they'll hit them, but they're not out kind of head hunting.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing what Sammy G can do in this particular series because I think it plays more to his skill set than the Predators series did. So
yeah, they're a lot more cerebral than what Nashville plays. Like they try and bait you into making a mistake, where Nashville will push you into making a mistake.
Yeah, a totally good point. Nashville just flies around. If there's someone in front of them, you're just going to hit them. And you're right. I think that's a very good term to use for St. Louis is cerebral. They're kind of like an Avalanche team. They have really good speed. They can score. The biggest difference is defense. They don't have a defense that the Avalanche do. So when, you know, the Avalanche D is up for the task, it's going to be a challenge. The St. Louis defense in stopping the Avalanche attack, that's where, I mean, if you get into a shootout, I think it has to favor the Avalanche because the Avalanche offense against the Blues defense, I'll take that matchup against vice versa with the Blues offense and the Avalanche defense.
And you get to see former Avalanche 8-game Avalanche player, Calle Rosen. You can see him one more time.
Yeah,
I think he had 8 games, if I wasn't mistaken. It was like 8 or 9.
And then they traded him back to Toronto, right?
Toronto.
And then Seattle took him, I think, in the Kraken draft. Yeah.
So, that's where the depth, like we talk about, it's almost equal with the depth for the Avalanche and the Blues in the forwards, but the defense, there's a steep drop off. Like I love Parayko, like watching him play, I love him to death, but other than that, it really doesn't scare you.
Well, you have, Bortuzzo is going to be that guy that's going to, try to stir some stuff up. If the,
this is where you see McDermott.
Maybe. I mean, if he does something totally egregious, and I still don't see that happening, but in terms of bringing McDermott in, but because you have guys that can atone for it.
Yeah.
But you have Krug is I don't know what's going on with him. He's out, but is there any chance of him playing in this series? All I've seen is he's going to be out for a long time. That's all I really hear.
And he wasn't really making that much of a difference when he was playing. Like, it was just a weird year for Torrey Krug. Like, it's not like he was out there like shades of his cup winning days. Like, this is just like,
nah. I mean,
this is a ghost.
Games,
yeah,
9 goals, 34 assists for 43 total points, plus minus of 23. Yeah, I mean,
he's not. It was an individual player trying to fit into a system that just wasn't working. You could tell he was so used to the system he was in that he was really out of his game, and he was facilitating well. I'll give him that, but he was not the player that we know.
So, and he might not even be there. And I mean, offensively, he's definitely serviceable, but I think he's a good, is above average defender, I feel. And if he's not there, he's definitely one of their best defenders. If he's not there, that just makes this even more difficult, a difficult task for the St. Louis Blues defense. I thought there was another one. No. Oh, well, going back to the forwards, obviously, Brandon Saad. And I know he was only with the Avs for 1 year, but it was a magical year. And I didn't think I would like Brandon Saad as much as I did. And I really wanted him to come back. Didn't work out. Numbers didn't work out. And just the fact he went to St. Louis was kind of like a punch in the gut. And he's having
a career year in St. Louis.
I mean, I just had it up.
He's like
78 games, 24 goals, 25 assists, 49 points.
Like, he's putting up. I pulled it up in one of the Locked On Avalanche Twitter spaces. I think it was actually a Blues game, and he already had like 2 more goals than he had with the Avalanche in that game. And I was like, he's having himself a year. And like we like to think of Brandon Saad doing all this, but like, if you looked at his stat line, it was not that loud.
Well, his thing was, I mean, in that Vegas series, he was the one guy that was consistent in all the games, even the ones that they were losing. He arrived. So, yeah, but he had, let me see, last year with the Avs, during the regular season, he only had 24 points, but that's it over 44 games. Obviously, that was a shortened season. So, 49 for him is not far off from his career high, which was 53, which he did twice with Columbus. Yes. So, I mean, he's gotten back to kind of his old self in those years anyway. And those were early. Yeah. Those were 15, 16, and 16, 17. So it's been 5 years since he's put up numbers like that. Avs know. I mean, if it's the playoffs, it seems like Brandon Saad steps up.
Yeah.
So,
very valid point.
We'll see.
It's a name we haven't mentioned, like Ryan O'Reilly is also there.
Right.
And you want to talk about experience, that coupled with Brandon Saad in the playoffs, that could be something to keep your eye on.
Right. And O'Reilly's not, he doesn't scare you in terms of like point production. What did he have this year? I feel like he fell off a little bit. Not horrible. 78 games, 21 goals, 37 assists for 58 points. So he's still just Ryan O'Reilly.
He's having a Jamie Benn year.
He's Ryan O'Reilly. And, you always have to know where he is.
Yeah.
He can burn you. All right, let's hear from Built Bar and then the goalie situation. So, brand new Built Bar. We received them. Oh, that's loud. the Built Bar birthday cake puffs. What did you say to me before we went live here?
My number one Built Bar flavor by a mile.
That has taken the reins.
This is probably my favorite thing to eat, period.
So if that were a trophy, that'd be the Stanley Cup, and you would hold that up as you skate around the rink.
Yeah, when they come back around and they do their tournaments and they're like, when they vote on your favorite Built Bar flavor, this has to be in there, and it's getting my vote 8 times a day.
Well, you heard it. It's the birthday cake puffs, and that's the new marshmallow infused. We talked about those puffs before, and this is their newest flavor. Birthday cake. It's covered in 100% real chocolate, 150 calories, 16 grams of protein, and only 9 grams of sugar. It's a limited time flavor, so go get it before it's gone. Who knows when it could possibly come back. It could be a one and done and we never see it again. So get them while they are in stock. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and you get 15% off of your order. Once again, the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, maybe it's always the biggest position on the ice, especially in the playoffs, and that's the goalie situation. We know what we get with Darcy Kemper. Seems like he's okay. That's the best thing that could have happened for the Avalanche is a sweep of the Predators, so he gets as much, I say rest, but healing time as possible with that eye. And he did a press conference, and it was like closed a little bit, squinted a little bit, but there was no like black and blue. He said,
slap a steak on it.
Yeah. Sandlot style. He said the doctors told him it was more eyelid than eyeball, which is good. I guess if there's any, good news there, it's that. So he's ready to go. We know what we're getting with Darcy Kemper. I don't think that's going to be an issue whatsoever. On the Blues side, you would think, Binnington, it seems like, is the guy. But the Avs have had his number recently. So we're talking about the defense. If the defense is a Swiss cheese defense and the Avs are getting through and getting shots on net with Binnington, I think it could be a struggle for the Blues. Doesn't matter how many goals they score because the Avs will just come right back and attack that defense and attack Jordan Binnington, who seems to struggle against them recently.
And that's what scares me because I know what's behind him. And honestly, in my opinion, Husso is a better goalie than Jordan Binnington will ever be.
Yeah.
Husso is already 25-7 on the year. He's had to bail out Binnington so many times. And I'm pretty sure there's a loud contingent of the Blues fan base that wants Binnington to mess up so bad on the national stage in the playoffs that you have one of those like passing of the torch moments when it comes to the goalie. And then you remember how annoying that Connor Ingram game was in round 1?
Yeah.
Imagine that every night for the rest of the series.
So
that's what you could get with Husso.
Then what do you think they do? Do you think they're
going to put Binnington out there and give him the shortest leash, and he's never getting it back?
You think if it gets out of hand? Well, if it gets out of hand, you have to make a change. You know what I mean? I get that. But say these are close games. Say they're losing. Say the Avs win games 1 and 2 by a goal. And I know it's depending on the score. If it's like 6-5 or 5-4, then he's letting in a lot of goals. Do you make a change? I don't think you do if they're low scoring games. Or do you even at that point? Is it just based on what the series is at? Where you, if they're down 2-0 after the first 2 games of Ball Arena, do they go back to St. Louis making a change?
I feel like the Blues know it. Like they're doing their due diligence, giving Binnington these starts because they know their future and their better goalie is Husso. So if they're down 2-0, Binnington gets pulled. If Binnington gets shell shocked, he's getting pulled. Just know this now. Husso is who they want in there.
Yeah, well, right now, for the future, yeah, he's 27 years old, so it's not like he's this young up-and-coming goalie. But he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. I think last year was it. Did he even play? Let me see if he played in the playoffs last year quickly.
He's got a 9.
Games. He played 3
games.
He's got
a 919 save percentage on the year. He's good, scary good.
He's got 3 games of experience in the playoffs, though. So I think that's why the Blues are kind of favoring Binnington right now. And he's played okay. He's played well. So go with the experience and I guess just ride that. I don't know. Because it could go south really quick, though. And
it could go south for the Blues and the Avalanche, because you could feel like you toppled a monster and chased a goalie in Bennington, but it's not going to get easier. And then you're going to have to really figure out Husso. And this is somebody that the team is like emotionally charged behind. So if Husso gets out there and starts saving like 5 in a row, 6 in a row, and really getting acrobatic with it, the Blues start getting fired up and they start believing in, hey, we made the right decision. This is what we needed. This is what we wanted this whole time. And then the tide turns.
Rangers just won in overtime too, by the way. So they have moved on. And it is 1-0 Dallas Stars with 1 minute to go in the first period. So what? This is nutty.
Yeah, the battle of the Locked On Avalanche hosts. Yeah. New York beats Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Crazy game. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what do you got for this here, for this Avs and Blues? What is your? I know we kind of talked about it. Before we knew it was Blues, we kind of threw out there what we thought it would be, whether it be the Wild or the Blues. But now that we know that it is St. Louis, we've kind of looked at their roster and the regular season games, all of that together. What do you got then?
This feels like a fat 6-game series.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Blues are capable. I think I said when we were kind of throwing this around, it's like, I just feel it's like a 5 or 6 game series for the Blues. Now it's like sitting with it just because they have offense. I think you're going to get one of those games where the Avs throw 50 shots on net and get a goal or 2 goals, and the Blues will score a few.
It has this feel like the old 90s and 2000s Stars matchups where like we'd win 4-3 and then the Stars would win like 7-1, and then we'd come back and win 6-4. Like it would be kind of even, and then just like haymakers being thrown, and it's just who could hold on the longest. I have a feeling it's going to get like that.
How do you think it'll go? Like win-win, loss, win-win, or like how do you feel it's going to go?
We're going to win the first one, and then we're going to remember what it's like to lose.
So they lose game 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Game 3, I feel like that's going to be a double overtime.
We're doing those predictions. I love it. Okay.
It's a double overtime win by the Avs. St. Louis comes back. The Avs come back and finish it out.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like the Avs are just too good at home, so I think they win those first 2. I would say the Blues will win the first home game, so that'd be 2-1. Game 4 is kind of like I just feel like the Avs won't lose 2 in a row, so they'll win game 4 to be a 3-1 series, and then that would mean the Blues would have to win the next game in Denver. So it's almost like they're swapping. Like the Blues win game 5 in Denver, and then the Avs win game 6 in St. Louis. So I feel like it's never like you're always up in the series, but I feel like it's going to go 6 games. Yeah. So
yeah,
there you go.
It'll be a good series. I can tell you that it's going to be a popcorn series.
It's going to be fun. So we'll be back tomorrow, and we hopefully will know when game number 1 is. So
not the only Avalanche team we'll be cheering for either.
Yes, thank you for reminding me on that. Our good friend Devin Ruff, who I think he joined us a couple when we did those live green room things. He joined in on those a couple times. His hockey team is in. Let me get his the message up. His hockey team, who is also called the Avalanche. So clearly, they're going to win the championship, but they are in the championship on Tuesday. So whatever your town is from, whatever you are, Avalanche, good luck to you guys. Championship is Tuesday. I'll have him get a hold of me after the game to let me know if they won or lost that. So good luck to you guys. And that'll be the first of many championships by teams named the Avalanche. That's what we got to hope for here. So
do it up for us, Devin.
Yes. All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with anything else that's new, and maybe we'll talk about these other series that are going on, because we're going to go watch that Stars Calgary game right now. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow, and go check out Locked Out NHL. Make it your second listen of the day. Got to, with all the stuff going on around the league. It's a must listen. So until tomorrow, he's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.